Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia. This is my mother, Ima. Hey, Ima.
Hello, how you doing, sweetheart?
Doing good, doing good. Just finally got my AC fixed, so that's a lot.
Hey.
Yeah, it's a lot off my shoulders. That's been really stressful.
What usually keep your AC? I find in general, especially when I
Hmm.
go to stores, a lot of people say the same thing. When we go to stores and restaurants, like public places, for some reason, the AC in a lot of places is way, way too cold. It's not necessary to have it that cold. Did you find
Well,
that in general?
it's not that I I think what it is, and it if you're going to a supermarket and if it's cold there, it's that it's a very big, you know, room, and all the cold air stays in the bottom and the hot air rises.
Hmm.
So even if you're trying to pump it and keep it at like 70 degrees, you're still going to feel colder at the bottom because all the hot air is escaping and going to the top.
I think quite honestly, like I know in my house, I usually keep the temperature at 74 is comfortable. And I don't know, a lot of stores keep it like I've seen workers in some of the stores even complaining of wearing heavy sweaters and hoodies in the middle of the summer working inside these stores. They said that one worker told me that he knows that where he works, they keep it as low as 68, which is ridiculous.
I mean, 68's like normal for a lot of houses for residents.
Ooh,
It's
too
just
cold for me, man.
you don't. I mean, the thing is, you don't want to make it too
Mhm.
hot where it just feels exhausting, and you could have. I don't know. I'm not trying to be dramatic, but like, you
Oh,
remember it. You just it can be a
I
little
would say
too
that.
schwartz.
I would say 73, 74. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Eh, I think also because you like it probably a little hotter. I think
Where do you keep yours?
I originally I keep it at like 70, maybe
Ooh,
69, 70.
that's too
Um,
cold.
it's just it's easier for me to deal with. It really is. Um, which brings me to what I wanted to talk to you about. Um, so I originally asked you last week about how do you avoid the roommate um feelings with Tati when you were together, and you said it was always like that. Now, when you say it was always like that, do you mean that like there was always a task to do and you never got around to having romantic time together and it was just more of like one after the other? Because I mean, you started having children what, like a year after getting married?
Yeah, yeah.
So did you feel like maybe you wish you had more of the romantic time, or you were very happy with the way it was done, where like you guys were accomplishing goals together and moving forward together, um, doing different tasks and just enjoying, you know, running a family?
Um, I tell you, I was happy to just get right into the business of having a family. I was ready. I mean, I was 27, already, and I felt that I'd done a lot as a single person, and I felt really ready to start having a family. And I felt that as an Orthodox Jew, I felt that um, this was a very big goal of mine to have a family, to raise a family.
Did you want to raise your family with a specific type of person, or you felt you really figure it out with anybody and that you would rather just really want to focus on the family?
I'm trying. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
The question is this: were you more focused on trying to raise a family than trying to be in a relationship?
For me and your father, raising the family was a big part of our relationship. This is what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
like sometimes like years ago, they not too many years ago, they had the talk show psychologists. That was like the big thing. And so many of these people were calling in like um, you know, basically with stupid things that bothered them about their marriage partners. I mean, idiotic things. And I thought to myself, hey, you're bored. Start having some kids. You won't be so bored.
so you felt that you were able to connect more with Tati when you had kids, and you felt
Yeah,
a stronger bond with them the more
yeah.
kids that were on your
Mhm.
plate.
Right. Yeah, it was all part. Yes. It's all part of
So
the deal. This is what we wanted.
So what was the feeling when most of the kids were starting to move out of the house and it was starting becoming less kids to worry about because they were all being more independent, and then you got to spend more time with Tati? How did that, shift?
That's a real good. Well, that's when we started to. That's when your father and I started. As we took that big trip to Israel.
Hmm.
In fact, we took two trips. We took two big trips to Israel. Um, and it's like even though the kids were out of the as well, I remember. I remember your father asking me why I was making so much food because most of the kids were out of the house now, married or off, in college or seminary. And he says, "Why do you still make?" I said, "Pure force of habit. I've been used to the 20 years of making all this food for so many people that you don't even think about it. Like, oh, maybe I should cut back on the amount that I'm making."
So did you, I guess, rediscover each other, or it was more of like just another part of your, you know, I wouldn't say routine, but another part of running a family is the closing part of.
Well, actually, your father and I were still, we were involved in the grandchildren,
Mhm.
and we were involved in, even though our kids were out of town. Well, some of them, actually, some of them came back and, started to go to local colleges and universities.
Yeah.
So we were, still like making dinner and laundry and still involved in their lives. And I tell you the truth, I don't remember any big shift. Your father and I were still involved with our kids and our grandchildren.
And it wasn't anything. So what I guess, what about your parents then when it came to like you guys leaving college and them being empty
Well,
nesters for a while?
the thing is, we did not leave for college. We all stayed home,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
we
you're right.
we stayed and commuted. Yeah, from hey man, can't beat the free room and board.
True.
So especially if you get a full scholarship and you're living with your parents. So boy, I managed to save money and bought my son when I graduated. Bought myself a car and treated myself to a trip to Israel and Europe. Uh, I made money in college. Um, but I remember my mother complaining about our schedules were varied then because it was college courses. You have some courses at night. Sometimes you don't come home till like 10 o'clock at night, whatever. And my mother would say, she said, maybe I should just make every night a big stew with a huge pot, set it on the stove, and just keep it there for 24/7 as you're coming in. You just go ahead and dish it out yourself.
Back in medieval times, there was this like constant stew where it was just boiling and people would just add and take away for like years and years,
Oh, gosh.
right? But
Oh, gosh.
so,
But as a matter of fact, it's interesting. Before you called, I
okay.
got involved listening to this very interesting medical program on YouTube about this or I don't know if they were Chinese or Japanese, this Oriental family that the mother had made these homemade noodles out of fermented corn. And what happened was a year ago, the family had this breakfast for breakfast with vegetables, and she froze it and she put it in the freezer to freeze it. And then a year later, decided it was part of a holiday celebration to take it out of the freezer and to reboot it and to warm it up again. And evidently, the family all got deathly ill from it.
Oh, wow.
It was some sort of
I mean, I am
like
aware. I am
poisonous
aware.
bacteria that had formed in it. Yeah.
I think this might be in Mexico, but fermented corn is like a whole big thing. It's a whole, you know, it I think it's called maize, and I
No,
think it's
maíz is the word. Wait a minute. Maíz is the word for corn in Spanish. Because
okay.
maíz,
So
pronounced
then
maíz. That's the word. That's the word for corn in Spanish.
okay. So then what maize
Maíz.
maize. So
Maíz. Mhm.
then I think it's fermented corn, like yeah, I guess there is like I just see wow. First thing that pops up, 9 dead in China from contaminated corn noodles.
Yeah, that's what this program was about. It was about a whole family, except for one kid who hated it and wouldn't eat it. But
Yeah.
everyone in the family, yeah, and it was horrible.
So actual fermented corn, not the fermented corn noodles. The actual fermented corn,
Hmm.
they say, is good for your gut. It's for good for gut health. So that's a different thing. Out of curiosity, did you ever have any odd recipes that people said were good for you and you tried and you realized it was or it wasn't?
um, I'm trying to think odd recipes. Um, the only thing I could that would fit that bill would be my chicken feet soup.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yes,
That's fine.
yes,
It's just
that's my favorite. But I remember seeing what I thought was a really good recipe, but Rachel Ray, where it was a hamburger recipe, but instead of
mhm.
making like little hamburger patties, she made these nice, like it's like steak, like she made these nice big, large, um, like football shape loaves and baked them in the oven and put sauce in them. And I thought they were terrific, and I made them. I thought they were great. You kids didn't like them.
Eh.
I know
Um,
it's horrible when you think when you make something and you think it's really good and it tastes, you like it and it tastes good and you think it's great, and the rest of the family, "Nyeh."
meh. Well, you've traveled a lot in your life. I was curious enough to see if like you've ever experienced any interesting foods that you would want to try or you have tried. You've I don't think
The
you've ever
pickled
mentioned it.
octopus that I tried in Italy before I became from.
Pickled octopus. How was that?
I don't remember.
Oh well.
I don't remember. I guess it tasted. It was small and white. It was a small white octopus. It was pickled. It was like I think it had to be a baby octopus. It's like a baby octopus. And I remember it's a kind of like I don't know, like pickly, whatever, like rubbery, pickly
Eh.
type. But I've noticed something interesting. Like, well, of course, I don't eat this stuff anymore. I'm Orthodox Jew now. But when I was before I became from when I was eating like all that shellfish and trace, seafood, all of that has this like dark, um, like this dark background taste to it.
What do you mean dark background taste?
I don't know how to describe it. It's like a
Well, you could try.
trying to think. I don't
Like
know how to
heavy?
describe it. It's like a
Like it's heavy?
It's like eh, not exactly. It's like I'm trying to think. It's like I'm thinking of the term like not exactly dirty, but
Like a little bit of seawater in the background.
yeah, that's it. Yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, because they
Right.
come from the sea. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they eat.
But it would be
Yeah.
like, but you're right. Like when you're right. Like when you go down to the harbor or something and you smell that like seawater.
So that's
Yeah.
what you taste.
And it has that background taste. Yes.
Did you ever go
As
to
opposed
Ocean's?
to I found the kosher fish doesn't have that.
Interesting.
Kosher fish actually tastes cleaner. It doesn't have that heavy
Ocean spray.
seaweed, seawater type taste.
I see. Did you go to Ocean City when you were like a teenager or a young adult?
The first time I went to Ocean City, I was in college, And these friends, what they wanted to do was their idea was to go to Ocean City and to try to get jobs for during the summer. And when if I wanted to come on just to go to Ocean City, I'd never been there in my life. When I was growing up, this is interesting. Um, Atlantic City was known to be Jewish. Most Jews went to Atlantic City, and Ocean City was known to be for the non-Jews, for the most part. And then it was during the 70s when they started to build the condos that more Jewish people bought these condos and started to go to Ocean City.
Interesting.
So I went with my friends, and I thought, in my innocence, it was Memorial Day weekend. So I thought, oh, Ocean City, it's got to be warm there. So I wore shorts, I wore summer clothing, thinking, hey, it's the end of May. Ocean City's got to be warm. I get there, I am freezing, absolutely freezing. I couldn't stand. I was so cold. So my friends and I, we all arranged to meet like at the end of the day in this one place because they were going different places to apply for jobs, and I just wanted to hang around in the on the boardwalk and visit the different shops of the boardwalk and play the game. They have a lot of game places there, and I found this one place in this gaming place where there was a heater above me and warm air was coming down. It was right where this pin.
Wait a second, Ema. Hold on one second.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry. Wherever you're at, it is the signal is very bad, and it's very scratchy. So if you could just go to repeat the story again.
Okay. Was that just very sudden?
It's been going on throughout the episode where like there's a delay where.
Well, I'm gonna do. I have my phone recharging, so I'll pull out the plug. Is that better now? Maybe that had something to do with it. It was recharging.
No, the bandwidth is low. It just means I think you're in the basement, right?
Yes. You want me to go upstairs then?
Not upstairs. If you can go outside, if that's okay.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, just make sure. You're alone, right?
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so let me go outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just because
Ooh, the ghost.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe your sister's house is haunted. Okay, is this better? How's it?
It could be, yeah, I think it's fine. It was just really, I don't know. It was really choppy.
Yeah, let me go outside anyway, because it's real. By the way, it's very nice.
Oh, wonderful.
Here up north. How is it in Baltimore? How is the weather gotten any better?
The heat broke today. It's definitely cooler today. It's nice. It's overcast. It's like 75. It's definitely better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is much.
It's also better here. It's a lot cooler than when I went to the Bronx Zoo. Oh, maybe I should talk about that. That was
wait. I want you to finish that Ocean City story.
Okay, so here's the Ocean City story. Okay, what happened was.
Oh, remember, keep your phone a little more distant so we can see you like this. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay. So, in all my innocence, I thought Ocean City's going to be warm. After all, it's the end of May. So I got dressed up. So I dressed in very cool clothes, shorts, and a light top. We get to Ocean City. It was freezing, absolutely freezing. So my friends go off to whatever different hotels and restaurants they're going to apply for jobs and to look and see, like temporary apartments. And I just wanted to hang out in the boardwalk and just, do the shops and go to like the game places. So anyway, I was freezing and I was walking around looking for a warm place. I find in one of the game places, right above a pinball machine, warm air is coming down. It was like a heater or something above it. And needless to say, I stood in front of that pinball machine. I played that pinball machine for had to be about 3 hours. I would not move. I kept putting points in this pinball machine. I would not move from that pinball machine.
Did you have a high score?
I was, I don't remember, and I didn't care. I just wanted to be warm. It
So that was your only
was so
time when you
frozen.
that was the only time when you
Yep.
were in college that you
Went
that
to Ocean City.
yeah.
There was another time, I think around my senior year, that I went with a friend, and went to the Eastern Shore, and went to Ocean City. We just went to the beach, strolled the side, the um, strolled along the boardwalk, and then came home. It was a day trip. I didn't stay overnight. But then later on, I don't know if do you remember? Oh yeah, I remember. We remember we went to Ocean City to Bubby and Pop's condo there.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there was what happened was there were people that were getting these like I don't know if it was a phone call or a thing in the mail where it's if you are interested in looking over some of our new like vacation homes in Ocean City, just for coming and looking them over, uh, you can get a free prize. So, and the free prize was supposed to be like nice, was supposed to be like a little TV or something or fans. It was a nice prize. So your father and I signed up for it. We come in there. I don't know if we do you remember this? I don't think you were born yet.
Maybe.
We come in there with your older brothers and sisters. They were little at the time, and they were supposed to have a babysitter with a playroom for families that had young children, so that the adults could go with the tour guide and look over these little cottages. We come in, and they ask us, they take one look at us, Hasidic couple, Orthodox Jewish couple with a bunch of kids, and they said to us, please wait here for a minute. So we're waiting and waiting. The man comes out and says, the babysitter suddenly had to leave.
Yeah.
And he said, here, we'll give you your prize. Enjoy the ocean. Goodbye.
I love it. I love it. What was the prize again? What was the whole thing?
I think it was one of these teeny little television sets that fits into your hand.
That's it. That was the whole prize. Oh my God, that's funny. Yeah, I liked Ocean City. I remember going there with Pop, going to see Pop and Bubby's condo and just really having like a good time. Went there like a couple times on my own with my sisters, and they had and their friends,
Mhm.
and just meeting up a bunch of people and going to the local trashy club. I think it was called
Yes.
Spirit or Ice or Spice or something. I can't
Uh-huh.
really remember, but it was just like it was great. It was just such a really good time. Um, but I guess what other places did you go in
I
college?
remember what was it? There were you weren't born yet, but when we went a few years before you were born, with your older brothers and sisters were little, they had an amusement area there, and there was something called the Jolly Roger, which was like a big
Oh,
amusement area.
I think
It was
I
really
remember
nice.
that. Did you
Hmm.
where would you and your friends travel and hang out at? Going for the summer. Would you guys get together and like, have barbecues or get together and go camping or anything like that when you were like in college or in high school?
I remember going to friends' houses barbecuing. Some of our wealthier friends had swimming pools and going like having pool parties, big pool parties. Mostly, I remember mostly going to the local swim club that was just down the block from us, where we used to live in Baltimore County. The development was called Willow Glen. It's at the the pool. The swim club is no longer there. I forgot when it closed up. It closed up, and they filled in the pool and just made it into regular land. But there was Gwynns Falls Stream was behind there. And I remember an assignment that I we had in school. My sister had this. It was a standard assignment we had in biology where we had to get pond water. So we just went with a jar to the stream that was, that was right behind the swim club, and we just, put the jar in there. And then you had to bring the pond water to biology club, and then put it under the microscope to see all the little one-celled animals that were swimming in pond water, which is why you shouldn't drink it without boiling it first.
Also filtering it. Jeez.
Yep.
Um, I just realized that today is the 30th anniversary since an attack in a Jewish community center in Buenos Aires. Do you remember anything like that 30
Buenos
years ago?
Aires. Buenos Aires
Buenos Aires. Yeah, 30 years
in
ago.
Argentina.
It was a van laced with explosives.
I think I remember something like that. Oh, by the way, today is Yud Beis Tammuz.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's the liberation of the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Nice.
I remember learning about that when I was going to Machon Chana, that evidently President Herbert Hoover was very instrumental in that.
Oh really?
Nice to see he did something right in his administration.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that he contacted Stalin and was able to negotiate. I guess he threatened not to. I don't know if they had already recognized the Soviet Union or not recognized the new Soviet government, but evidently he threatened him with some diplomatic consequences if he didn't release the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe.
Wow. Did you hear about, I guess, Lubavitch even before like you became from, I guess, when you were younger? Did you hear anything like that? Or
The only thing I heard was when I was I think in my second year, my first or second year of college, my second year of college, right? I got a job at a deli counter, and one of the workers there was an older Jewish man who the management was giving him a very, very hard time about not working Friday night and Saturday. And he told me that his son had joined this very interesting Hasidic movement called Lubavitch. And it didn't ring a bell with me. It didn't mean anything to me at the time. But he used to tell me, and I think the man was not quite from yet, but was on his way because and the thing was he wanted Friday nights off, but he was willing to come on Saturday during the day. I think that was it because he was starting the process of becoming from. And he was talking about his son that had become from and joined this movement. And like I said, it didn't mean too much to me then. But then later on, a few years later, I found out that this man eventually did become from. He quit his job, and I think he made Aliyah to Israel, if I'm not mistaken. I tried contacting him, but he did not remember me. I wrote him a letter. I've been writing him a letter, and he's saying, that he quite honestly did not remember me from the deli store. I think after I became from, I found out who he was, and I tried writing a letter to him. And like I said, he wrote me back saying that he's sorry, but he did not remember me.
did you have any, I guess, Jewish pride when you were in high school, like with your friends, and either carry Israeli flags or do anything special for like Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, or try to be more vocal about being Jewish when you were there?
That's a very good question. I mean, in many respects, I looked at my Judaism kind of in a negative way, unfortunately. But I know one thing that boiled my blood was anti-Semitism. That really, even though I might not have been religious and I might have been, in certain respects, a self-hating leftist Jew at the time, any anti-Semitic remarks or any anti-Semitism really really got my ire.
When you say looking at Judaism in a negative way, what do you mean?
The whole thing about that I was into one of these liberal Jews, right, that felt that the Jewish store owners were oppressing the Black population, that where the Jewish stores owners had their stores were mostly in Black areas, and that they were raising prices and all that stuff, which turned out to be totally false. It was not true at all. I bought the propaganda. I was a big leftist, and I bought the propaganda at the time. and I was kind of in some respects a self-hating Jew. Like what you see now about them looking at Israel as colonizers and oppressors. I was I was kind of along that mindset, which, like I said, realized many years later was total propaganda, totally not true. But one thing I would not let people get away with was anti-Semitic remarks. I would, I would always speak up or get a little violent. Like the time I
Oh
took
yeah.
the soda can and threw it at that guy for
Yes.
making a nasty comment about Jews.
Yeah, we've talked about that multiple
Yes,
times.
yes, yes.
Did you have it?
There was one teacher at our school, the Yushki freak. So
Yeah,
we talked about that guy, didn't
maybe.
we? Um, what happened was he was an English teacher, and he was an evangelical Christian, and he liked me a lot because I think he was trying to, you know, he was trying to convert me. Whatever. We used to have a lot of discussions together. We enjoyed each other. We were just we enjoyed just talking to each other, and uh, and so so he gave me a bracha that he hoped one day that I would find Yushki, and I said, please. I said, no, thank you. Thank you, but no, thank you. And I know where you're coming from. No, thank you. But he was the one. I think we had a discussion once where he had the best behaved English classes in the school because if anybody acted up in his class for detention, he would give them Yushki speeches, sermons. And nobody wanted to sit there in detention listening to his sermons. So he had the best behaved classes in the school. And then what happened was parents started complaining. I mean, he had his class read the book, The Cross and the Switchblade.
What's that?
It was a book about a Christian missionary who came into this high crime, depressed, low socioeconomic neighborhood, and who basically got a hold of the kids there that were gang members and influenced them to lead better lives through, of course, through Christianity. So here you got a school that's like 80% Jewish, and he had his class read this book as required reading. Needless to say, of course, the Jewish parents are calling and complaining. The principal was Jewish. His name was Mr. Bauman. And so Mr. Bauman handled it so well. He called the guy at the end of the year into the office for a meeting. And this teacher comes out of the office with a big smile on his face. And he runs to me. He says, your principal is so great. Your principal is so great. Oh, he has made me see the light. And he says, what a wonderful principal you have. He says, he's made me see that I am wasting my talents here, that my real purpose in life is to be a Christian missionary. He says, I am leaving teaching. He says, and I've applied to a Christian seminary, and I'm going to go ahead and be a missionary.
That's awesome. I think I remember you telling me the story as a kid to teach me how to tell someone to go to hell and have them smile while on their way. And that was an example story you told me of being able to just have better decorum and not be so rough around the edges.
Yeah. I was thinking about like some of the situations that you hear about in the news where teachers and administrators really, really go overboard doing the wrong thing. We had one teacher who, for in the beginning of the day, wanted us to stand up and say the pledge to the flag. So there was this one kid who refused to stand up and say the pledge to the flag. He says, I'm not going to do it. By the way, this kid later on became a lawyer.
Oh, wow.
And all the kids were yelling at him, come on, stand up, say the pledge, come on. And the teacher didn't make a big deal of it. He told the class, he's entitled to his feelings, leave him alone. The rest of us, whoever one you want to, can stand up and say the pledge. The whole class stood up except for this one kid, and we all said the pledge. We felt very patriotic. We all said the pledge. And no big deal was made about it. That's where it ended. And I think there are a lot of, I don't know what it is with these, I don't know, today or like a few years ago, all these teachers and administrators that make big deals, or even parents that make big deals about these things, like like Madeline Murray, the big deal she made about not having prayer in school. Which, first of all, it the people misconstrue what really happened. The Supreme Court case was not that they took prayer out of school. You could pray, but that the school had no right to dictate any particular prayer from any particular religion, like required that everybody say the same prayer. If people wanted to voluntarily stand up and or sit or say whatever prayer they wanted, they were perfectly free to do that. And people, like a football, when stuff like this happens, people take it and run with it. Like this girl I met in Macon Khana, she told me she was becoming from so in the middle of the school day during her lunchtime. No, it wasn't during school time, during lunchtime. She was davening mincha. She got taken to the office.
Whoa.
How dare her pray in school? Okay. Now, what I think is interesting is I was reading the handbook from Baltimore County Public Schools, and the handbook goes into the idea of praying in school. And they said that students in Baltimore County schools are free to pray or even make prayer meetings or prayer groups during their free time, but it has to be either during lunch or before school or during recess time, during break time.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, they have now this whole idea of putting the 10 Commandments in schools. I think in Louisiana,
I heard about that.
it's some kind of law. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's good to have the understanding of a fear of God, but like then it's separation of church and state, making it mandatory.
Well, not mandatory, but the separation of church and state reads that Congress shall make no law regarding religion or the free exercise thereof. In other words, it's not they're going overboard again. They're misinterpreting it. And the Rebbe spoke about this once. The Rebbe said that if you go overboard and you start persecuting people for bringing religious things into the school system, he says you're going to be no better than the communists. He says, basically, it's the free exercise thereof. And, schools, like any other, group or whatever, they're free to bring, religion into schools. It's just that you can't discriminate. You can't say, well, we're going to have only Christian things, but not Jewish things. If you're going to have religious practices brought in or religious things, for example, there's no, if you're going to have, there's nothing wrong with having the 10 Commandments. When you think of the 10 Commandments, the 10 Commandments is very humanitarian. Like, I would think to myself, what's wrong with the parents that don't want to teach their kids honor your parents? What's wrong with don't steal? What's wrong with don't murder? What's wrong with don't lie? What's wrong with don't bear false witness? What's wrong with don't be jealous of what other people have? Why would you want your kids to see something like that in front of them? And what's wrong with realizing, hey, that there's a spiritual entity that, man lives not by bread alone, but that man has a spiritual component. You should, I am the Lord your God, have no other gods in front of you. That yes, we should be reminded that, hey, money isn't our God, that there's a spiritual part of ourselves that we should get in touch with. These are basically, these are not 10 quote unquote Jewish laws. These are 10 humanitarian laws that go across the board and appeal to humanity in general. Why wouldn't you want your children to see that?
People get uncomfortable. People don't like it.
Why? Because there's maybe there's a higher spiritual authority about us, and you're not